Welcome back, conference goers. Please take your seats. I hope everyone enjoyed their complimentary sub sandwiches. Next, we have two investigators who have been looking into sightings of a creature in the backwoods of Massachusetts. Go ahead and take it away, guys.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure by now you have all heard of the countless sightings of a super mysterious creature that has been found to be roaming the woods of Massachusetts.
Buckle in, guys, because this one's straight up messed up.
He's being described as having a small, petite body and a large head with large eyes.
And huge claws.
Well, actually, it seems more like tiny, coquettish little hands.
All the better to commit crimes with.
I'm seeing now that a tiny cowboy hat would look really good on him, and pink flushed cheeks and cute little freckles.
There's only one name for a creature this horrible. The Dover Demon.
I'm Spooky Maddie.
And I'm just Cullen.
And this is
Anomalous.
Guess who's back?
Welcome back, everybody, to your favorite quarterly spooky show, Anomalous. 4 times a year.
That's a lofty goal we've set for ourselves, but I think we can do it. As I'm begging to God that you've noticed, we have not had an episode in probably 9 months. That's enough to have a baby.
Maybe we have an announcement for everybody? No.
Everything's the same, if not worse, than the last episode, so keep that in mind.
I'm healthier, but sadder. You know? Isn't that an odd...
Healthier? I mean, we found out you got some blood disorders.
Oh, yeah. All sorts of stuff.
Professionally, we've been doing well. I mean,
in
better.
What facet?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of an upside. Though, like, it's so sad that we have really no updates.
Yeah. Well, here's an update for everybody. New episode. Today we're covering a fun little guy. And to me, the mystery is, why does the story of a little dude who walks on a wall pull out such anger from everybody?
Yeah. There's something about this cute little guy that just brings it out.
It really does.
Today on our long-awaited return to Anomalous, we'll be talking about the Dover Demon.
His name being just the first example of needless anger and lashing out surrounding this case.
Though he be but cute, he is mysterious. And as you know, here on Anomalous, we talk about mysterious things.
Right. We have to remind everybody what this show is. What is this show again?
Do you remember, Mom? Do you remember me? You have a daughter.
You talk to your mom every day.
All right, true that.
So let's jump right in. What is this demonic, horrifying creature?
Deep in the thicketed forest of backwoods Massachusetts, something was lurking in the dark. Over the span of 2 nights, 3 independent sightings described the same unearthly creature. Was it an undiscovered animal? A creature of folklore? Could it have had extraterrestrial origins? Today, me, Spooky Maddie, and my partner, Just Cullen, will try to uncover the mystery that is the Dover Demon. Yeah, I actually prefer the Ben Dover Demon.
People at the YMCA call me the Bend Over Demon. Because I show everyone my asshole in the locker room.
Yeah, on purpose.
Right.
You're like, hey guys.
I'm more than banned. I'm actually
You're arrested.
litigating.
Yeah. So, all known sightings of the Dover Demon occurred in the 2 nights of April 21st and April 22nd, 1997 in the small town of Dover, Massachusetts.
This could be the worst known case of not having something ready on April 1st for a nice little prank.
Damn.
It's possible.
I thought you were going to say the worst known case of white people demonizing just little guys living their life. But
No, I think that would be countless races of humans.
every minority group you could think of.
Right.
So Dover is one of the smallest towns in Massachusetts. I think Cullen had a fun fact for us here, right?
Yeah, the town was actually established very early on, 1625. It was set up by Benjamin H. Dover. But do you know what his friends called him?
What?
Ben Dover?
Hell yeah. Love that. Love it. So the population of Dover in 1977 was around 4,600 people, and it hasn't grown much since then. The town has 4 schools, 1 elementary, 1 middle, and 1 high school, plus a private K through 8 for the extra rich citizens.
Yeah, this is a staggeringly white and shockingly wealthy town. Spooky Maddie earlier today when we were talking was saying, like, she was comparing to, like, West Memphis, where everyone grew up in poverty. That is not the case here. All of the properties are, like, have to be an acre plus by law, and the median income is, like, $250K.
Yeah, and I think you actually touched on one of the alternate titles to that Ted Bundy documentary, Staggeringly White and Shockingly Wealthy.
Very good.
Yeah, it's a very rich town. I don't know about you, but definitely recontextualizes things.
A little bit.
Makes me feel less empathy. Right. And I was a lot less impressed that one of the people we'll talk about became an artist. It's like, okay, well, come on. If I had money, I could draw a little painting too. So the Dover Demon is actually in the town's Wikipedia intro section, just below estimates to the town's snowplowing budget and a comprehensive list of what other towns Dover is close to.
You can tell just by the vibe of the Wikipedia page and the fact that their town website has no mention of it, that they're tired of the Dover Demon shit.
Yeah.
And I kind of get it, because at least 2 of the articles I read, the person who was like writing the article just went to Dover and bothered people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was talking to like a soda jerk at the market. And he was like, tell me, Jimmy, what would it be like if the Dover Demon came in for a soda pop? The kid was like, yeah, I don't know. Let me know if it's thirsty.
Oh, yeah. I think that, like I said, like 1 second ago, the wealthiness of the town does recontextualize things, because it's not like they needed any tourist money or anything. Like, for example, the Flatwoods monster we've talked about, they were like, okay, fuck it, we'll cash in on this. But the people in Dover are just like, a minority.
Yeah. There was actually a similar mystery going on for a while when there were sightings of and this is not a bit, one Pacific Island man who lives inside of the town. But that one was resolved. It turns out it was just a person without white skin.
Yeah, so that was pretty quickly.
Yeah, that one was set to rest. But today's mystery, still lingering questions.
True. So the first sighting of the Dover Demon was by 17-year-old Billy Bartlett. Me, when I'm trying to do beatboxing, I'm like, Billy Bartlett.
That was almost as good as your Donald Duck we were doing for the mic check. Again, that is Donald Duck if he had his face sliced off in an industrial accident.
I somehow entered the portal to some eldritch horror sounds rather than Donald
I saw a
Duck.
tentacle come up from inside of your throat.
Oh, that was just... You know how I said I didn't want to talk about brunch?
Right, yeah.
Right,
There's the live octopus unit.
So on April 21st, 1977, around 10 or 10:30 p.m., Bill was driving around with 2 of his friends in the car. He later said they were probably out looking for beer.
Believe it or not, this very first point is a good illustrator of the difficulties with this case. So a lot of articles guess, I don't know, it was around 10. That's probably the level of accuracy we're working with Bill Bartlett's memory at this point. Others say 10:30. specific getting there. And then there's always going to be little investigators who just make up details to throw in there, which confuse people like us trying to create a comprehensive story, because Cryptid's fandom wiki insists it was 10:32 p.m. exactly when the sighting occurred.
If something has more details, it's more believable.
Right, exactly.
So it was then around 10:32.
He was wearing a blue shirt with ripped jeans.
Yeah, and he had just like a really chill, cool vibe around him.
He had a really chill, cool, nothing to say about it boner going on. As you often do with your boys.
When you're riding in a car with your boys.
When you're riding your boys.
Okay, so it was then at 10:32.
Wow.
Bill noticed something up ahead. He saw a creature standing on all fours atop the low stone wall, which ran parallel to the road. In some retellings, Bill said he initially mistook the figure for a dog or a cat, but then quickly realized his mistake. Whatever it was, it stood on long, thin limbs connected to a bulbous body, which Bill compared to a baby with a distended belly. It had an egg-shaped head that was nearly the size of its body, and though the creature lacked many features, such as a tail, ears, mouth, and nose, it did have eyes. Huge, glowing orange marbles.
If you can't tell, Bill is now in his late 50s and works as an artist in the nearby town of Needham.
Needham? Bend over.
What? She's reading a map of Massachusetts from north to south. Fucking chill out.
So I guess we'll get to it. It kind of sounds just like a baby in general. It's like the body of a baby and the head of a baby.
I'm going to invite everyone listening to go look at a picture drawn of the Dover demon and compare it to what Maddie just said to really get an insight into her twisted mind.
The Dover demon is baby.
It looks like a baby, right?
Cute.
Horrifying.
Cutie.
Terrible that these things are connected to you.
So adorable.
No.
So as Bill described, the creature gripped the top of the rock wall with thin, tendril-like fingers, and stranger still, it wasn't covered in fur, but peach-colored skin with the texture of wet sandpaper.
Odd.
Gross.
Yeah, very odd. So he saw this thing, he said, from like a minimum of 10 feet away while he was driving. And you know we're something of scientists, and I'm something of a dweeb. So I did a little bit of math to put together exactly how long he had to look at this thing. He said he was going about 35 or 40. I'll assume slower, so he had more time to look at it. And he said it took about the time to get between utility poles along the road. And in rural areas, those are some of like 90 meters apart. So converting everything, he had about 5.7 seconds from his retelling to see it. He says it was 7 or 8, but he was freaked out. So people recount like time being longer when they get scared. But it could have been anywhere between, like 4 and 9 seconds in that range. I would say probably 5.
Oh, really? Because last night you were saying 6.
I was saying 6 for the sake of argument. This case brings out the worst in everybody. We've been very contentious about the details here. I say that's a lot of detail for little artist boy, little imaginary. I see the world through oil and watercolor. That's a short amount of time for him to get this artist depiction that we'll see he puts together.
I feel like Vines. Hello, you could have a whole fucking storyline and comedic genius in 6 seconds.
Oh my God.
Like if you asked me to describe Shalissa, I could.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to get Danny Gonzalez as a guest on the podcast, but I appreciate your push.
Danny, please. Please,
all right,
Danny.
She's constructed a slam poem to convince you to come on the show, Danny.
Danny, if you come here, it will be, I'll show my fanny.
Whoa, hey, back off, Danny. You motherfucker.
So little rhymes with Danny. But one word, uncanny, which we will talk about
Fantastic.
because obviously the Dover Demon is a bit uncanny.
A perfect transition. Nailed it.
So,
We're back, baby.
So Bill said that he was immediately shocked at the sight and asked his friends if they had seen the creature too, but neither of them had.
We were just making out on the back seat, bro. We didn't see anything.
You can kiss your homies.
You can.
It's allowed. It's legal.
Yes, I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. It's good even.
Why is this your one central belief?
My only moral code is kiss your homies.
It's called new chivalry.
Damn true. So some retellings of the story say that the boys turned around and briefly looked for the creature, finding nothing.
Others say that they went straight home and Bill Bartlett dropped him off and went to his own house. And we've seen one other that say that the friends went back to the same spot the next morning to look around. But the result is the same. No one besides Bill Bartlett saw it on that road on that night.
Mm-hmm. That night, Bill drew a sketch of what he saw. Artiste. Before he wrote, quote, I, Bill Bartlett, swear on a stack of Bibles that I saw this creature.
Are we making fun of the victim here? I'm not sure.
Oh, so he's a victim because he sees a cute little guy.
He has expressed many times he was like, yeah, I mean, I try to make fine art paintings. I've done some galleries. I teach a lot. You Google my name, it's mostly about how when I was 17, I saw a little guy on the highway.
Yeah. That's rough.
It is rough.
But he did say to repeat, quote, I, Bill Bartlett, swear on a stack of Bibles that I saw this creature, end quote. And his story hasn't changed to this day.
He's really stuck with it. He has.
There's
like minor things that are different, but it's been 40 years.
And even though he is like, okay, like, why can't my art pop off? He is still like, well, yeah, I did see that thing.
And if he was using it to still promote his art, I've seen worse gimmicks online, honestly.
I mean, that would be like the long game, too.
It would be. You don't know if that came up in his interview to teach at fine art school or not.
Little did anyone know, though, the next sighting would occur that same night. Less than 2 hours later, just past midnight, 15-year-old John Baxter was walking home from his girlfriend's house.
I might cut this out of the episode, but I restrained myself from writing attaboy at the end of that line.
Oh, yeah. John Baxter was drying off his dick after getting it wet. Mm-hmm. Cut that out. This is a 15-year-old boy.
You just said it's a bunch of horrible stuff.
Cut it out.
Oh, my God. John Baxter could not be found online. He might be a plumber in the Massachusetts area. It's unclear. I did research on all these fuckers.
Yeah, to a horrible extent.
We'll get to that.
I don't want to. So, 15-year-old John Baxter had just left his girlfriend's house. He was walking home, and as he walked, he saw a short figure around 3.5 or 4 feet tall approaching him on the road.
This is so mean.
We think that Lauren Coleman, the first cryptozoologist investigator of the Dover Demon, explains this part best. Quote, up in front of him, he saw this thing, this shadowy figure walking upright like a little human. Baxter noted the being's large head. He knew a friend in the neighborhood that had a head that was bigger than normal. And he thought it was his friend. So he started yelling out, MG, is that you? But it wasn't him. And the creature didn't respond. End quote.
Thank God that he actually did run into the Dover Demon that night. Because imagine the scene if he was right. They're walking towards each other. He goes, oh, well, hey, MG, is that you? And he goes, God damn, John. It's so dark out here. How the hell did you tell who I was? I just kind of felt it. It's like, there's no way. There's no way. What is it? Is it my shoes? Was it my hair? How did you tell it was me? Well, I'll be honest with you, MG. I saw it was about 4 feet tall. I saw a head of a watermelon, and I made an educated guess.
Yeah, I was like, MG, oh, hey, buddy, I saw your head from a mile away.
All
Big
right.
ol' head.
MG, married for 25 years as of his latest Facebook About page update. 2 daughters. It grew into his head. Good for him. We can all dream to be a little bit more like MG.
I can definitely dream to get big head.
Very nice.
So, despite the awkward interaction, Baxter and the creature continued walking toward each other until they were about 15 feet apart, and the creature stopped. Baxter followed suit and called out again, asking, "Who is that?" Suddenly, the creature bolted into the woods, and Baxter headed into the woods after it. Soon, Baxter reached a gully or a creek where the creature had stopped on the other side. It stood on its hind legs on a rock, its front 2 legs leaning against a tree. Again, he described it as having long limbs, as well as long, thin fingers that gripped onto the rock and tree. It had no tail, ears, mouth, or nose, but it had the same large head and glowing eyes as Bartlett described, though its eyes now glowed faintly and with no distinct color. Baxter became uneasy and backed away to the road and was able to get a ride home from a passing car. He later drew his own sketch of the creature, not to be outdone by Bill.
So he saw the Dover Demon more in silhouette throughout the night. Mm-hmm. He didn't get an idea of what his skin or anything looked like. He really just saw thin, short, big head. I know we're not at the theories section yet, but was it MG?
I was just thinking that. I was
he
like,
realized when he got called out, he was like, "Oh, this motherfucker just recognized me from being short with a big head." And when he got closer, he saw it was John Baxter, and he didn't want Baxter to be right. So he ran off into the woods to get away from him.
Here's how I imagine it. MG's like, fuck, out of all the days where I just walk naked in the woods, this is the first time I've seen anyone. And of course, it's John Baxter the bastard. Ugh, I'm going to get so bullied. And then he runs and he crosses the fucking creek. And then John Baxter comes up to him and they just stare at each other. And for some reason, John Baxter just leaves and he's like, whew. I escaped the ass beating of a millennium.
It was his eyeglasses reflecting in the moonlight. The only thing he was
MG's
wearing.
just like that.
His eyes glow. Yeah. So he's a gangly, thin man, 3.5 to 4 feet tall, with a fat head and genuine glowing eyes.
Maybe.
The reflective eyes of a predator.
Yes.
Great.
Oh, what? You think it's an alien?
Well, nowadays he's got 2 daughters and married for 25 years as of his last Facebook update.
Why are you obsessed with his 2 daughters and his long quarter-century marriage?
It's nice. It's good for him. He's got a normal head size now compared to his body.
I mean, I'm happy for him.
It's nice.
So the third sighting of the Dover Demon occurred the next night, again around midnight. A.B. You just pronounced A-B-B-Y as A-B? Because A.B. Baber Bam.
A-B Baber Bam. Very good.
Okay, Abby Brabo, 15, and her boyfriend, Will Trainter. Her boyfriend was 18 and she was 15.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look into that a little bit.
Grooming alert.
Yep.
So Abby and her boyfriend Will were driving when they saw a similar creature walking or sitting in the road.
Details get less and less between Bill. I know what I saw. I wouldn't make this up. Bartlett. John Baxter has less details, and then the Abby Brabham sighting has even less than that.
But reports say that she described the creature very much the same as Bartlett. Abby said it was about the size of a goat, but monkey-like in its shape. Again, it had long limbs, beige skin, and glowing eyes, now green. What? Why
It's
would
like
you
a
say
mood ring.
the size of a goat and then say like a monkey-like body? Why wouldn't you just say like a big monkey or like a chimp or something?
I don't know, because monkeys come in maybe one of the widest like size spectrums, you know? Mm-hmm. They can be like a gorilla or like Bubbles.
We'll get into it, but those things you just mentioned are apes.
Wow.
And just like that, though, the sightings seemed to end.
Or did they?
Yes.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, we're pretty well agreed that they did.
Though Bartlett entertains the idea that he had a second encounter, he doesn't seem to believe it himself.
Now, I was sitting in the car with my girlfriend in Dover a couple years later, about 5 years later, and there was a bump on the car, and I saw a little figure running away. I mean, it could have been a kid, but I know what I saw, and I wouldn't make this up.
The trick is to, say it so often you believe it yourself.
He ends almost every sentence he says in interviews with, I know what I saw. I wouldn't make this up.
King. Confident king. Yeah. As mentioned earlier, cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman appeared quickly to investigate after news got out about the sightings.
Lauren didn't have a lot going on. Let's be honest. He got there in like 9 days after small time news reports were coming out about what these teenagers saw on their spring break. He wasn't a busy man at the time and still doesn't seem to be.
He immediately determined all of the witness statements to be true and credible, but ultimately found nothing else. It did make a small section in his book, Monsters of Massachusetts, Mysterious Creatures in the Bay State, which features possibly the Dover Demon or a gray on the cover, peeing behind a tree like Calvin.
Look up the cover for the book. I'm not lying.
I'm going to look it up right this second.
Yeah, look it up. It's Massachusetts. What is it?
Monsters of Massachusetts. It looks more like it's fucking the tree hole.
Right. He's got his hands gingerly around the base of the tree, which is more fucking-esque. But
you could see his back is arched, like pushing his pelvis towards the tree.
Well, grays do kind of have that little like
sex appeal
snap of the back.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Where it like cuts down to put a butt out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We said the same thing.
Right. Review the tape, isolator footage.
So this book, Monsters of Massachusetts, Mysterious Creatures in the Bay State.
Go ahead and, while you're already on Amazon, go ahead and check out that review.
Yes, there's a review by Eduardo Rodolfo. 1 out of 5 stars. Buyer beware. Not one picture. There's better books out there than this. I'm an avid monster and mystery lover, but I hated this book. When reading about the topic of monsters and cryptids, I feel it's necessary to include pictures, drawings, sketches of some sort to give the reader reference to the monsters. This book had 0 pictures, not one. I will have to donate it to my Goodwill without even reading it.
I love that he just flipped through.
And there's like no pictures.
I'd like to make an announcement. I am Eduardo Rodolfo.
So Lauren Coleman is also the one who coined the term Dover Demon for the creature.
Thanks,
which
Lauren.
We at Anomalous strongly disagree with.
Let's break it down a little bit. So what is this little guy? He's got long legs. He's got a little body. He's got a big head. What does he do? He walks around, sits a little bit, stands up, runs away, to be clear, stares at a car. Why does he get the name fucking Dover Demon?
Yeah.
I understand the alliteration and the temptation. Yes, I get it. I mean, you have classics. Mothman, huge alliteration. We're going for like 1930s comic book style shit. But it's not a rule. Like Fresno Nightcrawler. Boom. You
Jersey
can have
Devil.
Like, Jersey Devil. I mean, well, that one's still kind of demonic, but what I'm saying is you don't have the alliteration shouldn't force it to be Dover. What starts with a D? Demon. Be like Dover little dude. And if that's not enough, then just drop the alliteration. Be like Dover creature, the creature of Dover Township.
Definitely should just be like Dover little guy.
the cryptozoology is very self-important. As the criticism section of Lauren Coleman's Wikipedia page says, he was criticized by a science writer who dropped some pretty serious critiques of Lauren's Cryptomundo website, saying that its users openly disdain scientific evidence that prove them wrong.
You can't prove a negative.
Well, that's true.
Okay. Anyways, so people needlessly take pot shots at this little guy, William DeLong, self-proclaimed
DeLong what?
penis.
We're back, baby.
William DeLong, a self-proclaimed freelance wordsmith for allthat'sinteresting.com, wrote, quote, "The Dover demon is an unpleasant little creature, to say the least, with a watermelon-shaped head and the body of an emaciated monkey," end quote. No reason for that. There's no fucking reason.
Hateful.
There's no reason to pass that judgment on the Dover demon.
And the central blame? The central blame lays on Lauren Coleman's head. And I hope that he is crushed under that responsibility.
So, if you aren't asking what the Dover demon is, let me know what you're asking, because to me, that's the only question. And we're gonna dive into some possible answers.
Beautifully said.
You do it then, mushmouth. Let me see your Donald Duck impression. Quack. Quack. He's taking a quack at it. So, as you may guess or understand.
Hey, taking a quack at it was really fucking funny.
Thank you. So, the Dover demon has not really been well researched, and it seems to be of little interest to cryptozoologists, who are likely very busy. Both cryptids.fandom.com and I are quite upset about this, with them saying, quote, "Most cryptozoologists are rarely willing to seriously investigate humanoids other than hairy humanoids," end quote. I appreciate the input on this case because the tea in the parapsychology world is scorching.
Anger and hate reigns surrounding the Dover demon. But I would argue it's not the bipedalness of the Sasquatch that makes him so alluring, nor is it his hairiness.
I think it's the hairiness.
I think it's the ass. Here's a question that isn't really even appropriate for this forum, but why doesn't Sasquatch have a hairless ass when so many monkeys do?
Because
and apes?
they haven't met me yet.
You're gonna spank his ass hairless. No, please. I'd love to get you on the record. You're gonna spank Sasquatch's ass hairless? There's no way we can use this.
Yeah.
There's no way I can use this in the pod, but there's also no way I can throw this away.
Anyways, I'm way more of a staunch Dover demon supporter than even cryptids.fandom.com, who admitted that the Dover demon is not a quote-unquote pressing issue. Rude. That's rude.
I mean,
though.
is it though?
I mean,
it's been 40 years since someone's even claimed to have seen it.
I care about him. Okay? He needs a mother. He needs a teat. He needs a teat to suckle on.
Okay, so you've offered to expose your pussy to Danny Gonzalez, and you told the Dover demon he could suck on your tits. So that's great. And I'm on board with all of that. And we're not going to have a discussion after the podcast.
We're actually not going to have any more discussions at all.
Ever.
So there are some that theorize that the Dover demon could be a supernatural or paranormal being. Despite the name, there's not much that's demonic about the little guy. Dover has had its fair share of supernatural goings-ons, though.
I beg to differ, but
Well,
go ahead.
let me explain here. In 1972, there was supposedly a sighting of a small creature with glowing eyes in the woods. Take that.
Here it is. Here is the situation. Hey, Chuck, you see that? You see that thing in the forest over there in the headlights? Yeah, seems to be walking there. Yeah, it is.
There.
That concludes the sighting. They saw a thing walking through the woods in their headlights. I think its eyes might have glowed, which animals do, and then it was gone.
I'll have you know that there's also a legend of the devil riding through Dover on horseback.
Yeah, kinda. I heard it was like nearby, because that's also the area for the Headless Horseman, which is, in my opinion, it's probably just like a local retelling of the Headless Horseman.
Yeah, but, makes you think.
And the last thing that always gets brought up, and Lauren Coleman points out eloquently how certain areas seem to collect odd sightings. The last example that they used was pirates with buried treasure, which I'm not exactly going to put in the camp of paranormal mysteries.
Well, another theory in the spooky realm is that the Dover demon may be some sort of extraterrestrial. You knew we were going to say it.
You knew it. You were waiting for it.
The description of the creature is fairly similar to the description of the classic race of aliens, the Greys.
Is it though?
Some similarities include a large head, no nose or mouth, and a small, lanky body. However, Greys are usually described as gray,
Right, that was
while
it.
the Dover demon was described as having beige skin. Oh, so people can't have different skin colors. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, you really got me in a corner with this one, but what I was trying to say is they're called grays. They're not called peachies. And if they were, sure, fun, but not it. And also, grays have black eyes most of the time.
Oh, now you're bringing black eyes into this?
Absolutely not. The Dover demon has glowing eyes. And by glowing, I'll say pretty much 100% they're like reflective eyes, because you have orange eyes in the Bartlett scenario. I mean, he knows what he saw and he wouldn't make this up.
He wouldn't.
And in that case with Bartlett, it was the reflection of the headlights. So say the headlights on the Volkswagen he was driving were kind of yellowed. And it honestly kind of makes sense that its skin would be peachy, like he said, kind of like orangish tan. Mm-hmm. In the case of Baxter, they were sort of lightless, which makes sense if you're getting like a silvery, multicolored light of moonlight going into the eyes and being reflected out. And then in the third case with Abby Brabham, she's in the car with her boyfriend. I think that the light might have reflected off of, trees around to present that green color.
No.
No?
It's alien.
Okay.
Another theory that has been suggested by cryptozoologists in a brazen act of cultural insensitivity is that the Dover demon may be a part of the race known as the Managishi. The Managishi are tricksters in Cree folklore and are similar to the Memegweshi of the Ojibwa folklore. There are many Native American legends about little people. This is especially true with Native American groups that speak Algonquin, which once again is mostly located in the northern United States and throughout Canada. So the Manageshi are believed to have originated from humans and are described as having long limbs, 6 fingers on each hand, large heads, and some groups also describe the Manageshi as not having a nose or mouth. However, as stated earlier, Manageshi are much more human-like than the Dover demon and are more similar to like fae or little people.
That makes sense, but cryptozoologists that frankly aren't interested as much in the actual Native American tales put a nice little depiction of the Dover demon for the profile picture of the Manageshi article.
Yeah.
So, who's to say it's not him?
It's tacky.
Why not just throw away the actual accounts of this culture and sort of rely instead on these sketches done by 3 teenagers in the 70s?
Well, did you take into consideration the teenagers were white?
Burn the whole article. Fuck it. Just rename it Dover Demon.
Yeah, it's wild. It's definitely not the case. But of course, when you look into it, that will be suggested. So we thought we would say it. And yeah, like if you give the vaguest description of like the Cree Manageshi, it kind of lines up, but it's not the same. And there's a super extensive like history of like little people within Native American.
Yeah, 40 years
culture.
of history since 1977, right?
Exactly.
Very good.
Yes, that's in Massachusetts. But that it is interesting though. I think we should have a
Yeah, we'll
episode
definitely
on that.
have an episode on the Manigeshi.
But yeah, that's pretty much like not what the Dover demon is.
Yeah.
For sure. So the original witness, Billy Bartlett, said that he was so sure that the creature wasn't an animal since it was so humanoid. Despite this, the most popular theories state that what was sighted that fateful night was an animal, like either a baby moose or a baby horse. Also known, so a baby moose is called a calf. Baby horse is called a foal. So many believe that the creature seen was a calf or a foal that was separated from its mother. Both horses and moose have heads that are similar to the demon. Horse and moose have heads that are like long and ovular and can be described as like a figure 8 or a watermelon.
Which is kind of what Baxter's description was. Bartlett said more egg-shaped. Baxter said kind of like a figure 8 where it had sort of a big top and a big bottom.
Yeah. I think like the watermelon description doesn't necessarily speak to me unless it's like one of those long watermelons.
I think it should be pointed out we referenced Baxter being like a rich kid who went into fine art. It's unfortunate for the other witnesses that their drawings have to be compared forever to the prodigal Bill Bartlett's.
Yeah.
Because his is all detailed. You should look it up. It's like
should.
It's shaded in, you get the contours around the head and the eyes. It's crawling on rocks. And then you got John Baxter. It's just like a silhouette against a tree with like arrows pointing to. It's like feet mold around rock.
Billy's drawing of the Dover demon is nothing short of iconic, honestly, though. Like,
is
if
great.
you look into it, you may have seen it before if you're into spooky things.
Whereas Abby Bravum's drawing is so poor that I've only seen it in one location.
Her obituary.
I had decided not to bring it up, but I've said throughout, I looked into everyone's life after this. She seemed like a very nice woman. She is unfortunately dead as of 2017 or around there. Her obituary is a hell of a read. They sort of took the opportunity to be sort of a life story situation where they interviewed her kid. It's a lot more details than I needed to take. And I think I'll avoid doing this sort of research in the future.
Good.
We'll spare the podcast audience. We'll just say she was a nice woman. She worked with the school system.
Yeah. Well,
That's no 2 daughters, 25 years of marriage, and a normal head, though.
Wow. I think the normal head's implied.
You would think that, but it is Dover, Massachusetts.
Wow, got him.
Got him.
Going back to the baby horse, baby moose, Billy described the creature with super long limbs, which if you've seen like really any baby in the animal kingdom, but especially like horses or moose or deer, they have super long gangly limbs.
They're fucked up. I saw my first photos of them last night while Spooky Maddie and I were screaming at each other about whether Bill Bartlett knows what he saw and whether he made it up. If I were to see one of those not in a photo with the caption, "This is a baby moose," I would have no idea what it was and think it's some sort of horrifying quadrupedal forest monkey.
Yeah, you were like, it looks like a monkey.
It does.
So if this did happen to be a baby separated from its mom, that would explain why its body looked so emaciated. And that could also be why it was like hairless. So skeptics of the theory of a baby moose or baby horse state that moose are very rare in Massachusetts, and it's well established that moose calves are born in late May to early June. Likewise, foals aren't usually born in April either, and they went around and asked people if anyone was missing a baby horse, and they all said no.
Excuse me, but what's more unlikely? A baby moose out of season or perhaps an alien?
Okay, this coming from a person that actually was like, oh, moose can be born whenever.
They can. You
No.
know what? You know what? You get a moose. You get two moose together, a female and a male moose. You think that they're going to be like, let me check my fucking calendar?
Yes.
They're not going to be like that.
Yes, they
They're going to get
are.
down to fucking business. I've seen it. I've watched it. I have videos.
Wow. That's why people called you moose fucker in high school?
No.
There are other aspects of the sighting that don't necessarily line up with a baby moose, such as the tendril-like fingers and the fact that it was sitting and walking on top of a wall, which Cullen thinks could be explained as like a retaining wall, but still.
It is described in some things as like a crumbling wall and others as a low wall. So it's not like a chest-high wall to start with. And second, it's a wall running along this road. It's probably a retaining wall. So it has a higher level of dirt on the other side, and that wall is built up to stop it from spilling into the road when it rains.
I still just don't think that like a baby moose would be like, let me go up this little hill and stand on this wall.
What? You absolutely they would.
No, they're not
That's
a
fun
goat.
for a moose.
No,
that's
not
fun
for a
little
moose.
That's fun
Not
for a little
for
moose,
a
and it's fun for a
moose.
little horse
No,
to
it's
walk
not.
up on to the little and look around.
Oh, sorry. Are they baby goats? No.
Well, okay. Well, let's follow your line of logic all the way down. What's a gray doing on all fours, having a little look from the
Going
top of this wall?
goblin mode.
Once again, you've convinced me with just a fun idea.
So, also in the realm of natural explanations, other theories propose that the demon sightings were actually sightings of some sort of primate. One common theory is that the creature sighted that night was a lost monkey, and monkeys are primates just like humans, so that could describe the humanoid aspects of the demon.
Definitely the long limbs, too.
Many monkey species, such as gibbons and siamangs, have extremely long limbs, as Colin said, and like around the same size bodies, like 3 to 4 feet tall. Also, wait, holy shit, I just realized that gibbons are actually apes, and that they're lesser apes, and bridge the gap between the old world monkeys and the great apes.
You think Bill Bartlett, when he saw this creature, he was like, oh, what is that? It's gibbon little monkey.
Wow, it's gibbon monkey. Anyways, could be a gibbon, slightly humanoid, similar size range, has fingers.
So now that we've spent all this time, they don't really have heads like that, and I don't think monkeys have eyes that are reflective. Everything except for the long fingers pretty much hits a baby moose or a baby horse 100%. A monkey that someone had and escaped, it matches some of it to me. It's a little bit looser fit, and I don't know if we're arguing, oh, it couldn't have been a moose, it couldn't have been a foal because they were out of season. What's that probability wise compared to someone nearby had a monkey that they lost and never reported it?
I think to me, and we thought about this last night, to me, the fingers are a huge detail, though.
And
like you would notice.
To me, the fingers could be mistaked with other things.
So another theory that the police, ACAB, said to the press was that the children were likely just playing a prank, and they theorized that it was a hoax.
Now, you think last night was a slobber knocker, but I'm starting to get behind the hoax thing a little bit. Why did all of these people draw sketches immediately? And why are they so close to each other?
You can't win.
Who does that? Like, we've had any number of sightings. Rarely does the person who made the sighting immediately, like, straight away make a sketch,
and
independent of anything.
And you'll say, why didn't they make a sketch?
A lot of times we'll have a description. We didn't have any sketches. We did Ningen, no immediate sketches down. There was a sketch down, but only from one person of the Flatwoods monster. And I'm pretty sure that was like spurred on by people. Like all of these teens, some reports say that even Abby's boyfriend made a sketch, but we have at least 3 people who saw it, immediately made a sketch, and they're all really close to each
No,
other.
I disagree. Bill is like an artist. So he expresses himself through that. And then, like you said, people were probably pushing the other ones because they have this sketch that Bill made.
It is kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't, but it seems odd to me that all three of them made sketches immediately. And if that isn't the case and they were pushed to afterwards, perhaps by Lauren Coleman, they also could have been pushed to change their sighting a little bit for their sketch.
Yeah, for the sketch, but they still like initially described very similar things.
They did. It's almost too close. The only detail that really changes is the eye color. And that is odd. And to me, that gives a little bit of credence to the idea that it was not planned beforehand. But when I hear that all of them made sketches straight away and they match almost perfectly, I'm like, the odds of that happening seem low. It seems like maybe they talked about it.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that there is a lot different. I mean, Bill Bartlett kind of set the scene with having the most descriptive description of the thing and a sketch, but there are a lot of differences. Like Bill, I don't think really saw it moving, and when he did see it, it was on all fours. Like in the animal kingdom, being able to be on all fours and being able to like run on 2 feet is a huge difference.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I would say that the narrow accounts we have from Baxter don't necessarily fully state that it like moved on 2 feet. Lauren Coleman, I feel like, adds details to say it was walking towards him bipedally. I don't know about that. The only time that John Baxter said for sure it was on 2 feet, it was leaning up against a tree.
I think that if you were to come up with your buddies with the hoax, you would have the idea of like, okay, let's have some differences. But I don't think it would be as big as the eyes, because if you're trying to make a hoax and you're trying to make this thing like uncanny and clearly like paranormal or something, like giant orange glowing eyes would be a big sell.
Yeah, it would be. For Bill Bartlett, at least, it's hard for me to believe that it's a hoax and he knew it was a hoax, you know, because he ends everything with, I know what I saw, I didn't make this up. And he says that it's like an inconvenience in his life, that this is the main thing that surrounds him. I don't see him being a hoax, but he's also the only person who really talked about it. The other people made their first sightings and kind of just disappeared into life. I think that as far as a hoax goes, maybe it wasn't a full collaboration between them. I think maybe John Baxter and then maybe the other two kind of followed along after him once they heard about it.
I can see John Baxter and A.B. Baby like
Rest in peace.
Just kind of following along, like kind of turning it into a joke, and especially because they both were in a situation of like being out late at night with a significant other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think that Bill Bartlett wasn't speaking out of his ass.
Yeah.
That was genuine. And he has the most description of it.
So, I mean, I'm not really committed to the hoax angle, but what do you think it was?
I think it was like either a baby moose that was very sick or a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a undiscovered animal.
Yeah.
That has to be my favorite branch or like thought process of cryptozoology, is like yet undiscovered like animals, you know? But I think that it makes the most sense that it was a moose or a baby foal or some animal that first Bill Bartlett mistook. And then when we get into Abby, I think could have seen the exact same thing and mistook it, or possibly was influenced. The timeline just isn't clear enough to empirically state one way or the other if she was influenced by the previous sighting or not. They all knew each other. It's a class of like under 150 kids. So they all knew each other in the high school. There's one high school. She might have been influenced to turn a regular animal sighting into something more. And then when we get to John Baxter, his story is very weird to me. The fact that he went up in the night and you have that like comedy sketch that feels like it was designed to make fun of MG. And then he's like, yeah, And then I chased it into the woods right after. I followed after it until it spun around and stared at me with these glowing eyes, and I backed off. I'm like, as the artist formerly known as a 15-year-old boy, that sounds like 15-year-old boy shit.
Yeah, Baxter is kind of weird with it. And I definitely think he was influenced. And, I'm not going to say that I think it was a baby moose. Like, I will say that while investigating, looking at the drawing and the descriptions, it's similarly shaped to a baby moose.
It really is.
Like, the long head. And that's why I feel like you should really look at the sketch, because I think that shows more of a moose head than maybe just the random idea of like a watermelon shaped head. Mm-hmm. As someone with like a dog with like a really unnaturally long head, there are some animals that if you really looked at them, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with their head? And I feel like a moose, and especially if you Google baby moose, the first picture is like this super hunchback baby moose that looks really weird.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there are a lot of similarities there, but I'm not saying that I necessarily really think that is what it was.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely some rubs there still. While we don't have any definitive answers for what it was, hopefully you guys have come to your own conclusions, and we can say that even though it's like kind of a fun one-use cryptid from 3 sightings many years ago, we can all be a little happy with the fact that weirdos like us are constantly bothering this overly rich Massachusetts town. And with it, calling the police department all the time, asking for scoops on whether anyone's seen it. They're tired of it, and that makes me smile.
I'm going to ask Bill Bartlett if I could use his sketch as a tattoo, probably.
That's nice.
And he'll probably be like, my professional career is a joke.
You sure you don't want one of my fine art paintings as a tattoo? I'd be willing to release it to you. And also, as a last note for things to look up, yes, Bill Bartlett's sketch is iconic. But what's even more iconic? John Baxter holding his sketch posed out there with his 1970s straight pull down hair down to his shoulders, that striped polo shirt, wide jeans, just banging it out, holding his sketch.
That sounds really nice. I want to see that for sure.
An iconic image defining the late 70s.
Yeah.
So believe in the Dover little dude and don't demonize him. Don't demonize the Dover dude. And believe in yourself.
Yeah, believe in the Dover cute little guy who was just living his life being a dude. Believe that he was chill like that. And believe in aliens. And believe in yourself.
Yay!
But believe in aliens more, though.
Yeah,
I do.
Believe in aliens a little bit more than you believe in yourself, but make room for both in your life.
Yeah.
This has been Anomalous. See you in a while. Bye, bitch.
Bye, cunt.
Isn't that your Twitter bio?
Rude.
Bye, bitch.
Bye, bitch.